Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another financial segment with Todd Bauman and Bauman Wealth Advisors. Todd, again, I thank you again for being here. There is so much on this financial world that I don't even know where to begin or end and everything. We discussed it previously. I'd like to discuss and go into it in more details, which is annuities.
Yeah.
Because we've been getting phone calls through the Vegas voice about it. Good, is it good, is it bad? I hear it's terrible, I hear it's great. And unfortunately, I have to, well, not unfortunately, but fortunately, I can go to you and say, explain it to me. So, you know, in the time that we have for this segment, let us know everything you need to know about annuities. How about that?
Well, we're going to need a lot more than our
yeah.
normal 10 minutes, Dan. But so we did a segment in the past, and I talked about the three different types, the fixed, the indexed, and the variables. And when you hear bad rap about annuities, ladies and gentlemen, they're primarily about the variable annuity, right? And I literally just had an appointment last week, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring this in. This client had Bright House, which used to be MetLife. Remember Snoopy?
Yeah.
They would use Snoopy in the characters of that. And so it's now called Bright House. And, they came in and they were telling me they have this annuity and they weren't sure if it was good or not. And I said, well, I knew it wasn't, but let's call Bright House, right? And so on November 21st, we called Bright House.
Before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right before Thanksgiving, we called, and Kate from Bright House, picked up the phone and one of the representatives, and I went through. I have a whole series of questions. I know what to ask because I've been doing this 30 years, Dan, and I know how variable annuities work, and I probably could have explained it to the clients exactly, but I wanted them to hear from Bright House, how their annuity works. So long story short, they've owned this annuity for 13 years. Okay. They put in $200,000. And it's only worth $223,000.
After all that time.
So they've made $23,000 in 13 years, right? And that worked out to be a 0.9% average rate of return. And they've taken no money out since they started.
That's unbelievable.
Now, I'll be honest with you, this is the worst variable annuity I've ever seen in my 30-year career. But a lot of them are just one step down from how bad this is, right?
How do you justify something like that? I mean,
I don't know, right? So this is bad, and not only does the return suck on this annuity, and I'm saying that intentionally because I want you to anchor that variable annuities can suck if you have a bad one, but their annuity has some features on here, bells and whistles.
Okay.
And these bells and whistles can be good or not. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And one of their bells and whistles, Dan, is a death benefit, right? So even though it's only worth $223,000, their death benefit is $401,000.
Okay.
Right? And so that could be a good thing if the husband owned this annuity, right? If he were to die. But the problem is he's only 71, and I mean, he's in good health. He's not gonna be dying anytime tomorrow. If he did, then it would pay off to the wife. But according to the IRS life expectancy, he's going to be in his 80s before he kicks the bucket. And so, and you got to die to get the death benefits. So you don't want to use that anytime soon.
You're not looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's there in case you need it, but don't use it anytime soon, right? And so their other benefit, though, was an income benefit, Dan. And so this variable annuity, even though the return sucked on it, it can provide them a lifetime income for as long as he lived. And he said, no, it was for as long as both of us lived. It was a joint payout. And I said, no, it's a single payout. So the broker who sold them this did not set it up correctly. In their mind, they were going to have a joint payout, which means husband and wife got $22,063 a year for as long as they're both alive. So if he dies, she continues that payment. If she died, he continued it. When they both die, whatever's left in the death benefit would go to the heirs. And so they were really upset. Because,
I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, they were going to use this as part of their pension payment, right, for the rest of their lives. And so that was another problem we saw when we called Bright House. And so that was the second problem. The third problem is the fees, right? And so there's different fees in the variable annuity, but these fees never seem to get disclosed to the client, right? And so the client normally thinks if they know they have a fee, it's like right around 1% is what I hear all the time, but there's more to it. So I'm going to dive deep here with you. Okay, and so hopefully this isn't too boring, but this is really important. Their M&E, which is mortality and expense, was 1.05. Their admin fee was 0.25. Their death benefit fee was 0.6. Their guaranteed income fee was 1%. And then in a variable annuity, there are called sub-accounts. They're just like mutual funds, and those average around 1%. So this client was paying 3.9% a year in fees, which is typical on a variable annuity, which is crazy high. 3.9%.
But you know, I'm listening to you, and I'm trying to put it in my world in which I need help with finances, and I go to the brokerage guy and say, do it. And what is it? And they're going to say, oh, this is all standard. Don't worry about a thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, this was horrible.
Yeah, in this particular situation, this was really bad because the way these insurance companies calculated the fees, it wasn't a true 3.9%, Dan, because the income rider and the death benefit fee are based off of that $401,000. So when we actually calculated it, their total fees for the year were around $12,565 with the guaranteed payout of $22,000. So they are actually paying 5.62% a year in fees to own this annuity to give them $22,000 a year for the rest of his life.
That's obscene.
Yeah, so it was actually $1,047 a month to get $1,600 or about $1,700 of guaranteed income a month.
It's obscene, and I know that when people criticize annuities, the variable, this is a prime example of it.
Yeah, this is the textbook case on why variable annuities can be a bad investment.
So with that in mind, and people watching this are saying, wait a minute, I have an annuity, it's variable. What do I do? How do I know if I'm being taken advantage of? And am I getting the best for my money? What do you do?
Well, I mean, I think it's very important to deal with someone you trust, right?
Right.
We are fiduciaries, so you can trust us that we're going to give you the best information possible. But I encourage you right now, if you have an annuity, give us a call because we can analyze that for you. We know what to ask the insurance company. We know how to dissect this and tell you if this is good or bad. I had an appointment about 4 months ago and they had a variable annuity, and in that situation, the income rider that was on there was beneficial for them. And so we recommended they keep that annuity and use it for the income feature. But most of these variable annuities are not that great. And so if you have an annuity, especially a variable annuity, you're gonna want to call us and let us go through it with you just to make sure it is what you want it to be.
And I assume this couple had no idea that it was that obscene.
Well, Dan, would you buy a vehicle that costs 3.9%? So if I said, Dan, we're going to go into this investment and you're going to pay 3.9% a year in fees just to own it, would you do that?
Depends what it is, but probably not.
There's a really good chance you're not going to do it. 3.9% is a lot of money in fees. That's way too much in fees. You can do other things way cheaper than what you're doing here in this annuity.
And like I said, I guarantee this couple had no idea what they were getting into, but they thought it was a good deal because it's an annuity.
And they came in off a complimentary consultation, just like this. They called us from your magazine. Actually, we're on the back page of your magazine. We've been there for years and years and years, and they called in for a complimentary consultation, and we dissected this and reviewed it for them.
And then let me make a pitch. I'll tell you this right now: if anybody has a variable annuity, you have nothing to lose by calling Bauman Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, I mean, look, if it's good, we'll tell you. If it's bad, we'll tell you, and then we put the ball back in your court. But it all starts with calling us for a complimentary consultation. You can do that at 702-897-9997, 702-897-9997, or you can always go to our website, baumanwealth.com. We have 3 offices in the Valley to meet with you.
3 offices are where? Just so that people might be a little bit lazy. They all think that it's in one section of town. It's really not.
Henderson, Summerlin, Mesquite.
Everyone's covered, and the idea of not checking what you have and calling Todd is just absurd. So I thank you again. Again, there's so much more to cover. And we'll have you back again with us. And this is Dan Roberts, Todd Bauman, saying we'll see you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.